3, 2, 1, and we are live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Wolf. It's good to see. It's good to see all of you here. We have Mr. Thomas Young on the podcast.
Hey,
you guys all know him.
Hey, nice to see you. Glad to be here. Looking forward to a nice conversation here.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And yeah, for everyone who's going to be watching and tuning in back at home, definitely be sure to reshare the podcast. I'm going to get that link out to you right now. Yeah, we talk about all sorts of things on the spaces, and I was like, you know what? I don't think I've ever sat down with. We've met in person now at this point a couple of times at various places, and we've got to talk and meet all these sorts of people. And I was like, I don't think we've sat down and done like a long form piece of content, just you and I. And I was like, that needs to be rectified now. So, anyways, Thomas, it's great to have you. For people who don't know, you're in a lot of the Bitcoin macro spaces. You love Bitcoin. You love talking AI. Life as well. We've had all sorts of conversations across the board. So most people are already going to know who you are a little bit, but maybe for the people who don't know as much on like the Thomas side and not so much like the Tom Young Jr. Bitcoin side of things, maybe if you give a brief introduction of who you are, because you're also in the political realm and not everyone knows this.
Yeah. So a little bit about me. I'm a management consultant. That's how I got into this space. I've been a management consultant for a couple decades, and mostly helping firms with the introduction of emerging technology into service. So anyway, so I'm just reposting this thing real quick so we can
get no problem. Real good.
So I'll just say live with Wolf. Let's make sure that gets out there because I like people to check in when we're doing this.
Definitely.
All right, so that just went out. So anyway, so I was a management consultant, and we were looking at helping companies deal with emerging technologies in their services. So I've been doing that for a long time. But a lot of it was originally around offshoring work and how you set up the commercial frameworks to do that. So there's a big outsourcing trend back around 2000. It really came on the heels of Y2K. Where there wasn't enough people to do the work. And then they started using offshore resources, and then they demonstrated they could do that. And labor arbitrage became a big thing in the first 10 years of the 2000s. So I did a lot of that work. That saturated out probably by 2010 to 2012 timeframe. And that's when we started to see advanced software pop up into contracts. Mm-hmm. So imagine you have structured labor performing workflows. So it could be in the IT world where I spent a lot of time, you have ITSM frameworks where tasks are defined, and then you start doing workflow automation with software. Anyway, so around that time frame, 2012, 2013, et cetera, we started to see dislocations in price where software was replacing labor. So it's one thing to see labor arbitrage. You're paying $100 an hour for work, and then it goes down to $30. People take advantage of that opportunity. But when software replaces work, it's a totally different framework. So we started to see that, and that's when I got involved with some firms that were doing that. I left and started my own firm in 2013 to really specialize in doing that. So I got exposed to a lot of the early AI work. At that time, it was really called RPA. Process automation, robotic process automation. Autonomics was a term that IBM used. And so I started working with companies, but it was pre-GPT. Like GPT came out, the white paper I think was 2019, but didn't really hit the market until 22. So there was a time frame when we were working on artificial neural networks, but we couldn't get it to scale. It was using recursive neural networks. Anyway, that's how I got on the AI side. And while that same time was happening, was also getting into, started to get into the crypto tokens to help with the workflow. And that's how you came to blockchain. And blockchain, the first case on blockchain is Bitcoin. At the time, we didn't know Bitcoin was going to be the thing. If people were around for a while back then, there was the flippening. If people remember the flippening, so Ethereum was going to flip, and you had smart contracts. So we looked at a whole bunch of stuff, but we did focus a lot of time on Bitcoin. And I remember I listened to Max Kaiser.
No way.
Oh yeah, back he was on some Alex Jones podcast, and I was at the gym and listening, and it was $44, and Max was on one of his rants. And I enjoyed watching Max on RT sometimes, right? So I'd see him. He had a show with his wife called The Kaiser Report on,
Mhm.
and he was always interesting because he was just an entertaining character. He had always had a different view on things. So I knew who he was, and he's pushing this Bitcoin, and it was $44 at the time. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm going to go buy some of this stuff. And at that time, now we're talking like 2012, maybe.
Mhm.
So I went home. I come back from the gym. I'm going to buy some of this. And that's one of the biggest regrets because I didn't actually do it.
You forgot, or did you just, was it too
No,
much
no,
to
no.
steps?
It was, you got to, at that time, they didn't have Coinbase and you didn't have Kraken
Mm.
and things like that. And like, I'm going to send my money to this magic internet thing. And who's getting this? And I
Right.
couldn't figure it out. Like I couldn't figure it out, honestly. And I put a little bit of effort, but not a lot. And I put enough effort into to get to this point. If I can't figure it out with an hour's worth of work, there's not a counterparty that's going to do it. So I buy this, and it's like buying a collectible. If there's no market for the collectible, it's not worth anything. And this gets to the issue of intrinsic versus extrinsic value, right? My premise is that extrinsic value is what drives Bitcoin. The intrinsic value is this peer-to-peer functionality. And that has some functionality, but the dominant piece of it is the extrinsic side, which means other people have to think it's valuable. So I didn't do it. But I did track it. It was on my homepage for multiple years. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, holy crap. So we get to 2016. I actually hired somebody in my firm, and the job was to simply teach us Bitcoin, so we could explain it to clients. We were talking about blockchain. Blockchain was big. IBM was pushing blockchain as the next technology. And so I remember we were doing a briefing at a client, and we had IBM come in. They did the first part, then we did the second part. And I remember saying to everybody, look, it's $800 a coin. Just go out and buy one. Go through the effort of the KYC that you had to do with Coinbase at the time. You had to take a selfie with your driver's license holding up. People have probably done it. I did it many years ago, but that's what you had to do back then.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, just go buy one. It's $800. Everybody can afford $800, and just see what happens. And a lot of people did. A lot of people in that briefing bought it, and but very few held it through the rise up to 17,000 or whatever it happened that year. Most just took their profit when it got to several thousand. Like, oh, that was great, thank you. A few people held it. I held it. I bought a bunch then, and I just kept. I've never really sold anything. I just keep adding to it.
Mm-hmm.
I've ridden through the couple peaks and valleys, and I lament like everybody. I wish I sold at the top and bought back at the bottom, but who knows when those things happen.
This is true.
So that's how I got into it, and it wasn't until I was sitting there at, what year is this? This is 25. So probably
25.
At the end of 23, I'm cruising around on YouTube, and I see this old guy in the dark wearing a t-shirt ranting on how the ETFs are going to change Bitcoin.
Mm.
And it was Fred Krueger.
Oh my God.
So, and it was like,
wow.
It was his first video. He did, must have woke up in the middle of the night and his hair is all messed up. And, he's just wearing
yes.
shirt. It was great. So anyway, so I'm watching it and I said, wow, this guy, this is interesting. So I subscribed to it on my YouTube, and all of a sudden he started putting videos out. And so Fred and I connected, and when I really bought into his thesis that the ETFs are going to change the game.
Mm.
And they did. I mean, the Bitcoin was 42,000 then, and we've gone on a nice ride, and it's really set up to poise beyond that. So
yeah, 1,000%.
And the other thing is, you mentioned me being a political, I've always been, when I was a young man, I got elected to our town council. I've been on for about 30 years. I serve as the mayor of our town. Our mayor in our town is you're basically the chair of the committee. So it rotates every year because it's a lot of work. To be the mayor is a significant amount more work than just being on the council. So I've done 6 terms as the mayor.
I don't know how you come to our spaces and do all this. I really don't.
Yeah, it's so a lot of times I'm working and I have it on in the background.
I see. Got it.
So I'm not always paying attention, and I have a workstation set up, and I can I have multiple screens, so I'm listening to stuff. The AI tools have allowed me to crank out work like there's no one's business.
I was going to say, which ones have you been using, by the way? I mean, I don't know if you're allowed to disclose.
I use ChatGPT.
Okay.
I use Grok. I use Gemini. And to a much lesser extent, I use Anthropic. Now, it's interesting. Okay. I hear all these guys complain and shit on ChatGPT, but for what I use it for is for text and word salads. Right. I'm not coding stuff. So if I was trying to code in Python or something like that, I may use Claude Codex. I'm not doing that. Right. I'm using it to frame stuff strategically. And as a management consultant, what I do, and you'll hear this when I talk on Spaces a lot, I'm trying to build a holistic framework about what's going on. Right. So it all has to hang. When you're building a strategic framework, it has to hang together. Like if you're saying X, then Y and Z need to make sense. And then X, Y, and Z holistically have to make sense. So you can't say this is happening and then ignore the stuff around it that don't make any sense. So you're like, okay, so I'm looking to always zoom out and say, okay, if you're saying X, what is Y and Z? And does the combination of X, Y, and Z make sense? That's kind of like a management consulting craft. And for that, ChatGPT is phenomenal. There's a McKinsey term. McKinsey's like one of the big management consulting firms. They're called MECE, MECE. It stands for mutually exclusive, comprehensively exhaustive. And it's for setting up frameworks for a paradigm about something. So I want to have a list of things that cover the entire concept, but I don't want the list to have overlap. So it's comprehensive, and each element stands alone. So I now have all the components. So anyway, it's a somewhat of an advanced concept, but MECE lists are hard to develop. With AI software, it's fantastic, and it helps you frame it out. So that's what I use it for. When I write stuff, the way I use it now is I'll write and I'll use the AI as an editor.
Oh, that's nice.
And if you can see in the background, I have this book I wrote called Digital Labor back from 2019. Yeah, you can see it right there. Nice. That's just one of the book promo things.
Beautiful.
Doing a sequel right now, and I'm using the AI to help me with the framework on that. And the Digital Labor book I wrote in 2018 and 2019. And that was old school, sitting at the keyboard and typing it out.
Yeah.
That was hard to do. Now you can crank it out really fast. But you still have to participate. Like you just can't say, go write me a book and then go ahead and come back.
Sure.
I'm using it now for that. And I'm doing one that's called Synthetic Labor. And it's really the sequel to Digital Labor, talking about how AI is coming in and doing a lot of the work. But it's tremendous. So I write and I use it as an editor, or I'll have it draft and I'll edit it. But it's an iterative back and forth process.
Yes.
And so that's what I use. I enjoy it. Some of the guys I debate on the topic, like Joe Carlasari, he's a friend of mine. He is a skeptic on the topic. Part of it's because he's a lawyer and he's a skeptical kind of guy. And I like that because, it's annoying for a lot of people. I know people get upset with him because he's always sort of a contrarian when you say something.
Yeah.
But to me, that just sharpens your blade. You know what I mean? Like, I want to say something. I know Joe's if I say something,
he's going to call you out on it.
I know he's going to disagree with me on something, and he's going to force me to think about it, either completely disagree with him or sharpen what I'm saying. Another guy, Asteroid, he's another skeptic. But Fred Krueger and Ben Sigmund, the guys who wrote the Bitcoin 1 Million, that did the Bitcoin Alpha conference, they're strong advocates of AI. And so I talk a lot with them offline about what they're doing, some of the projects. And I'm just trying to learn.
Yeah.
And when I'm on Spaces, I'm trying to share my journey of how I'm learning as best I can and communicate that. So I know a lot of people are listening. And, for the most part, when we're having the dialogues, like say you and I are having a dialogue, I'm as much thinking about the audience listening than I am thinking about making sure I communicate with you.
Yeah, you got to handle both at the same time on these live events.
Yeah. So it's interesting. And so I enjoy the Spaces. I put a decent amount of time in, a couple hours a day. So I enjoy it.
Yeah, they're
I enjoy being on your Spaces. You mix it up. You have a great portfolio. We were talking before we went live, how you've really built up this Wolf brand, and you're to be commended. It's I look at your schedule. You publish out on Sunday nights.
The Spaces schedule.
It's a lot of work. Again, a lot of guys are hustling. And here's the thing: it will pay off for you in the long term. You can see it in the arc that you're on right now.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. And it's a brutal grind, I will say. We've had some people that say, like, how are you running so many? It's like I send out a lot of invites, and we most of the work is the back end. I mean, we are live most of the day, but like most of the work that as you've worked in a bunch of industries. I mean, the work is in the back end. It's just stuff people don't see, but they're a lot of fun. I mean, it's crazy. Like, how many of the people would you say you've met that are either close friends or close acquaintances? I don't know how you qualify like people on X, but I mean, strictly from Spaces. I mean, it's such an interesting medium because you can go from listening to someone never speaking to just hopping on for 20 minutes, having a good exchange, and now you're friends. And now you're like, oh wait, I'm in Vegas. I'm there next week, and now you've met each other.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm friends with a lot of guys. When I started getting into this, the first person that I connected with was Fred Krueger, and he and I have become friends. Our wives are friends.
No way.
So, yeah. Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
So, you'll see us. Fred and I sometimes kibitz. Sometimes we'll go back and forth. Sometimes when he does a live stream, I'll jump up with him, and we'll do some of that. But even Ben, his partner, Joe Carlasari, there's the Bitcoin Today crew like Lauren and Terrence and Darkside and Puncher, Pink Shirt Guy. There's a bunch of guys, Eric Rice.
Yep.
So I've met all these guys. I want to say I probably through Spaces have met, I don't know, 10, 15 people at least, maybe 20. And then I met a lot more casually at these conferences.
Yeah.
And it's interesting at Bitcoin Vegas, you and I met there. I was surprised at how many people recognized me walking through the crowd.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
It was not off-putting because I get recognized a lot in town being the mayor, so I'm used to that. But I wasn't expecting that in Vegas walking through the casino, and anyway, I met a lot of interesting guys. That think about this. Like one thing that's interesting, and my wife is in the real estate business, so and you've met her. She like I talked to Grant Cardone. I probably talk to Grant, 2-3 times a week through these Spaces.
Yep.
And he comes into our Spaces. We don't go into his Spaces, right? So his Spaces are Cardone Capital, 10X, the whole 9 yards, and he's got millions of followers. And I don't go in there. It's just not. I just don't do it. But he comes into ours, and we have a conversation, and there's no pretense and everything, and we have good conversation. Same with Gary. We spend a lot of time with Gary. I talk to Gary several times a week, and so these networks. Think about how often do you get to speak with people with that level of success and financial net worth, et cetera. Like If you say Grant Cardone's a billionaire, how often do you get a chance to talk to a billionaire?
Exactly. I mean, for me, I'm 27. Every time I do a Bitcoin space, I get excited because I get nervous and also excited because I know it's probably going to be a war zone at some point. But also, it's like, in what world does a guy in his 20s, how is he able to sit amongst people with 20, 30 years of experience in the markets, 20, 30 million, $billion dollars sometimes even, and just them discuss things and have their perspective kind of weigh on me? It's completely changed the way I look at wealth, and also just the way you look at life and what's possible.
Look at the Bitcoin Alpha conference. I know a lot of the guys that are there, like, I'll call it like, not the inner circle guys, but guys I know, there's a lot of wealthy guys that are at that conference. Oh, yes. And if you can get, we'll say if you can get some alpha from them, which is code for, if you can get some intelligence from them, it can really help you out. And again, it's just, I enjoy it because it's very challenging. And I really make and other people have this, and you might have it in your life as well. There's a huge dichotomy between what you're able to talk about in these spaces, and then when you go into real life, it's it's totally different. You can't have the conversations anywhere near in the same level of depth. And I sometimes, honestly, I struggle reconciling that.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is the reconciliation is, are we in an echo chamber where we convince ourselves of certain things that are happening, and then you go out into the world and you don't see the validation, the validation through greater and greater awareness and things like that. So again, I just was down in Atlantic City and I interacted with a shit ton of people. Not a single person brought up Bitcoin. Some people brought up AI. But even that was not so much, right?
Yeah, it's barely.
No one brings up Bitcoin. And so in that sense, you'll say, oh, we're early. Well, for sure, we're early. But if we don't get this thing more democratized, more mainstreamed, then I think there's a limit to how high Bitcoin's going to go. That's just my personal opinion. So what drives that? Capital markets. So I think for me, we're gonna crawl up at some point. Maybe it happens fast, but I think it's not going to happen fast. To 200,000, and it's going to get to the headlines of financial markets, and then you'll start to see more people talk about it. People were talking about it in 2017. Like in parking lots after meetings. Hey, do you see what's happening with crypto? That's wild. Look at Litecoin.
Yeah.
Look at Ethereum. This is great. All these people were talking about it. And it was in the mainstream. Today, it's not that at all. Do you see that in your life?
Yeah, I would say that's pretty much on point there. Nobody's bringing it up. It's certainly not Bitcoin. I mean, AI comes up, but it's like, it really depends who your crowd is. Like if you're talking the average person in their 20s, they're definitely not talking about optimizing your life using LLMs and how to prompt them properly. They're just really talking about what happened at work kind of thing, which is fine. I think if you're on X in these finance spaces, you're specifically there to try and get an edge on the market, to try and either catapult yourself earlier, or this just happens to be your interest. You're a noob, you're a nerd, you know what I mean? And now we've created this home of people where your intellectual strength is almost like, it's sort of your currency on these spaces, like how well you can debate, how well you can defend your points if you're on spaces, or if you're on Twitter, is your copy good? You might have great ideas, but if your copy sucks, nobody's going to ever hear it. And so the good thing is you can train yourself for all of those. Like if you do 1,000 spaces, you'll be a better speaker. For me, I sat down for a couple of weekends and went through a bunch of copy, went through the best advertising in the world in the history of ads, before the internet was really a thing, and was like, okay, I need to figure out why this copy hits and why my copy, when I want to get a message out there, can't get more than 300 views. Like I want to get into the 4,000 crew and then the 10,000 and more kind of thing. Like
if you put out a piece, how many impressions do you expect to get on X?
Right now on X, I'm hoping for 2,000 for like an post. It's like it should get to 2,000 or so. But before, like 3 months ago, it was like a good post would maybe get 1,200. Yeah. And it was entirely because my copy was just backwards. I didn't understand it. It's not that I didn't. It wasn't good. I just literally hadn't trained. It'd be like jumping onto a soccer field, having not researched anything about the sports and wondering why you're not good. It's like, of course I'm not good. I haven't even read the playbook yet, or trying to talk about Bitcoin in a smart way without having read the white paper or watched
Yeah,
a single
yeah.
video on it. So
You
that's kind
have
of
to have something. You have to have something interesting to say, but then
Mhm.
you have to understand the medium in which.
Yes.
So, like, I play around with it, and like, I put out a post this week, and
Your stuff does very well. Your stuff does very
yeah.
well. You're one of the few that can do it on Spaces where people will listen at length and they will read out your written stuff as well.
So, so if I put a picture with the article, or I'll tend to write like maybe 125, 200 words, and I'll put that out. If I put a picture with it, the engagement goes up much higher. So I just did one
Really?
on the backwardation that happened the Sunday night,
Mhm.
and I had Grok. I just wrote the post, then I loaded the post into Grok Imagine, and I said,
Mhm.
make me a picture. And it gave a picture, and it was a pretty good picture. It made it like it felt like it was a heads-up display from Apple Vision Pro.
Mhm.
Pretty wild. So I just posted that in there, and we got 146,000 views.
Oh, wait, when was this? This was today?
I posted it 2 days ago.
Let me pull this up here. Let me see
It's pinned to my profile.
Oh, it's pinned. Okay, that's why I scrolled past it. Let me pull this up here. We'll look at this together. And yeah, by the way, if you guys are watching right now, if you guys are watching back at home, definitely be sure to follow Thomas. He's tagged right above us in the stream. Here's the post.
You can see the picture there. It's that's the picture, and it's just it was talking about when we had backwardation. And basically, backwardation is Bitcoin spot is higher than the Bitcoin futures, which is a negative carry, and it doesn't really happen that often. So this is the history of when it's happened and what happened in the days after that. So anyway, it was just a point to think it through. But anyway, I look for anywhere from 5 to 20,000 when I put out something, but it has everything to do with the size of your audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your audience gets pretty big, and the thing I would encourage you to think about doing is, I don't know what your equipment and rig setup is. Are you if you're recording the Spaces and have the audio files?
Yeah, if the Spaces we haven't so much. We should
think about you can do this into the future, because I would say you could actually even make some money doing this. If you recorded all of your Spaces into audio files, loaded them all up and let the AI listen to them all and synthesize what was talked about, and then synthesize it in a time series. So you could come out with a weekend report that what was talked about, and what you're trying to convey in the sharing of this is the changing sentiment. Now, if you're on the Spaces a lot, you can intuit the changing sentiment.
Right.
We have a lot more fear, a lot more optimism. Is one project, like, would you have picked up this rapid rise in Zcash through the conversations you're having? Would you have picked up, attitudes towards Bitcoin, or even political attitudes?
Sure.
It doesn't really matter. You let the AI figure it out, synthesize what's going on, and then start writing a structured report, and then you just publish that report.
That is actually a really good idea. I think in my head, the only reason we hadn't is because so many of the Spaces aren't evergreen. Like, by the time it's like published, unless you watch the space by the next morning, it's kind of like, well, like there's new news out. And so I think that's probably been it. Otherwise, like that is a good idea, even if you're not like reposting the podcast to other platforms, which is what I thought you were going with. But you publishing like it's kind of like the Coalesce report. You see that account? It'll like write up a whole thing on it. And I was like, is that even AI? Is that like a real person?
You're grabbing the highlights of the sentiment. And you again, you need to have a nice setup AI wise to go do it. So, and you need to because you do less work on the weekends, right? I mean, it's and you're catching up, but you gotta, when you publish your schedule, if you could also publish the Wolf report. You know what I'm saying? Like what and the report is here's what we talked about last week. Here's what we expect to talk about this week. And here are some sentiment metrics about trends and things like that. You will get picked up by a lot of people because the aggregation of all of what you're talking about is known by no one.
Right.
Wow. So, and where you're going to see insight, and this is something that comes out of management consulting, which is,
I was going to say,
it's the recombinant analysis that leads to new innovation. So you're taking this, that, and the other thing and bringing it together to come up with a new idea. So if you think about, let's use something that everybody understands, the ride-sharing service Uber.
Yep.
There's nothing technologically groundbreaking about Uber. It just brought together a few things and created a business around it. And it took off, and now it's worth billions and billions of dollars. So there's lots of examples of recombinant innovation. And what digital tools allow you to do is recombine digital things very quickly and very inexpensively. You just have to know how to do it. So if you have the ability to grab your artifacts, put them into a readable format, and for the most part, the AI can listen to audio.
There's a few Twitter accounts right now that will comment below our space at the end, and they'll have summaries now that I think about it. And I never thought to, I mean, it makes perfect sense that you are literally, this is what you do. Because that's a great idea. I was always like, yeah, that's cool. But like, I don't need to have one of these every single space. Like it's,
yeah. So there's the written report, the Wolf report.
Yeah.
And then there's the Wolf half-hour highlight show, which is, and again, that's a lot more work to do that. But you got to let the AI do it and have a half hour. What were the key clips? So you can see like Darkside right now is doing this thing, Darkside Media.
Yep.
So he's taking clips and he's thinking it through.
Right.
And he's sharing those clips, and he does maybe 1 or 2 clips a day. You can pull up his thing. I think it's
Let me pull it up. Darkside Media, I found it. This up here.
Yeah, so if you pull him up and just take a look at what he's doing there. Now, Dark's got some wild AI computer rigs.
Sure.
He doesn't talk a lot about it. I talked to him about
public company. You have fiduciary duties to something.
Yeah, he's got
to help with the transition.
The audio's not on for this. Anyway. I'm just showing
that are very strict about what you say. Like, oh, you can't say that. You can't say this.
So anyway, just think about what he's doing there. He's putting he's creating the visual, putting some text there. So, and again, think about why he's doing it that way. You might be in a situation where you can't listen to the audios, you can read it. So he's chosen this style. He grabs the highlights and he does this. Now you have to pick your own style. And if do you have a YouTube channel?
We do, and we actually are looking to beef that up a little bit, and so it's actually interesting.
You can start publishing to a YouTube channel the 30-minute highlights, because look, there's a lot of people. Think about the people who spend hours every day, all week, all the time. Those are freaks, people like me. Right? That's not normal.
That's true.
So, but there's a lot of people out there who want exposure to the content. And they would absolutely listen to a half-hour show on YouTube where you but again, it's too much work if you have to do it manually. If you do it, and this is why you got to figure out how the AI tools. Now, the good news is the AI tools are getting better and better for you to curate this stuff. But you have to, and this is one of the things we talk about in our management consulting is the politics of data. Now, what does that mean? It means that data is the key to understanding what's happening with, like, when the AI is looking at stuff, it needs to know what the data is. And there's been a lot of controversy about who has rights to this data. So when you sign up for Facebook, you're giving away all your data, and they give you, in exchange, they give you a free social media. Google gives you free search in exchange for all of your search history so they can sell advertising. There's a lot of examples where you give away your digital exhaust in exchange for free services. There's no such thing as free services, by the way. So if you're getting something for free, you're the product.
Yep.
Right. So now, so how does it apply to you? You're creating all of this content. You need to grab all of the digital exhaust, all the data, the recordings, the time of day you did it. You need to marry it to the market data. So it's not just grabbing the content. It's that this content happened at 3 o'clock on Tuesday and the price of Bitcoin moved this much.
Oh, yeah.
You're not going to do that. It's going to do that. That's why you just have to get the data and secure it. So now you're going to say, what was the sentiment? Well, the sentiment would suggest that the anxiety levels on price movement look like this. Right?
We also have a newsletter that would be perfect for. Now that I think about it, that would be perfect for the newsletter.
The work you have to do is secure the data as much as you can and put it into, let's call it the Wolf data lake, and then you got to figure out, okay, what AI platform can I do? And now let's ideate on the products. We just ideated on a few. The Wolf Report on Sunday night, the highlight show. You could do a newsletter. You could do you could even sell customized research.
That's true.
For people, right? Like you have a good network, a good Rolodex. Maybe somebody wants to hire you to do market research. There's a whole bunch of things you could turn this into.
I think turn it to a stream at the end of each day and just go through the top highlights. I mean, I do that sometimes. And that would be a great thing. I wouldn't have to do any research. It's already there.
Yeah. I mean, at some point you start doing this and your cash flows will start coming, and then you'll want to bring in some people to help you do this, so it's not all on you.
It's true.
And I don't know, like, is it you and someone else, or is it just you?
So Wolf, just for context, Wolf Bitcoin is part of Wolf Financial. So Wolf Financial is the big 400K Blue Wolf, it's the biggest stock accounts in the world for stock market spaces and stuff like that. And so Wolf Bitcoin was created 2 years ago. It was Wolf Web 3 at the time, and then it became Wolf Crypto. I think that's when you started coming onto some of our Bitcoin spaces. Right. And I was a total Bitcoin noob. I didn't even understand that. I thought it was just another crypto. And then we started building up the spaces. Then over time, we were like, wait a minute, most of us are actually just Bitcoiners, to be completely honest. And so we ended up, moving over to Wolf Bitcoin because it still encapsulates the crypto market. It's still the king. But on the team, we've got probably 20 something internal total. Okay. And then many more on the outsides of that. For Wolf Bitcoin, currently it's kind of just me for the most part. A couple others who help a little bit, but for the most part, Wolf Bitcoin is me.
So you are you're basically have created a franchise within Wolf.
Yeah, it's like ESPN. Like ESPN Network has like their own shows, and it's something similar to that.
You have the ability to turn that into whatever you can turn it into, right? And so I'm just suggesting there's some opportunities to do that. Now, what's interesting is if you're part of a larger organization, they might be able to help because it's whatever we're saying here applies to them as well. Right.
That's a great point for the Wolf trading spaces, the Wolf financial spaces. That's very true.
What you want to do is you don't want to be responsible and waste your time on doing some routine stuff that they could have an intern do, or they could start setting up and doing in an automated way. You do want to maintain some levels of control, though, and I do think it will probably be worth your while to do it yourself if you're inclined to do it, just so you learn it, and then go do stuff. But yeah, I think it would be great. I would just say, like, as an example, behind the scenes, X is doing that within X. Grok. We don't see it, but they're selling or they're using all the back end sentiment trade. Now, now X is a bit of a skewed audience, but let's assume it's not skewed. Like Google used to have and Google has a bit of a skewed audience, but now take it all together. Could you front run markets?
Like Polymarket, like I'm thinking of
100%. You could front run markets. could you slowly affect markets? So I front run. Now the algo that presents information, maybe I just tweak it a little bit, and I get an outcome that I want from my front running.
Wow.
So this is powerful stuff that's happening here.
They're probably doing it already. That's probably where half of these bets are coming from. Some of them don't make sense. I'm like, who's putting money behind this? Like people who know.
People, I guess my expertise is probably like on these spaces. I'm more jack of all trades, master of none, right? So I'm broad, and deep enough that I can participate in any conversation, but I'm not the expert on any one thing. If that's probably a fair characterization.
Yeah, I would say so. That's why you're funding the spaces. People like listening.
So, but if I had any area of deep expertise right now, it's probably on the AI, but not from an AI as a technician or a coder. It's AI in terms of the strategic frameworks of how it's going to affect society and business operations. So I would just tell you, people are not prepared for what's coming. They think, oh, I have problems with the LLM. LLMs can't do this. LLMs are not the thing. LLMs are the codification of pattern recognition across multiple domains: text, video, audio, computer code, math. And it's encoding the patterns in the world into a neural framework. That is a foundation layer to what's coming next, which is agentic AI. And agentic AI basically is AI on AI. So you use PowerPoint, Word, use those software packages probably. Most people can't use all the features. That's just because, and whether you're using any kind of software you're using, you're rarely using all the features. The gap between what an advanced user or an average user is using on the feature set relative to the full capability of that software is called feature gap. When you replace the person using that software with software using software, the feature gap gets compressed to near zero. So think of it this way. You get behind a race car and take it around the track. But then you put in a expert race car driver, or even better, a computer who can drive it perfectly, like in a drone. So it's doing things you could never do. So that's coming at the AI level. So now we're going to have AI using AI, and you're going to start to see changes in the way business operations happen with respect to software. And this is the one area that I'm working on, that I'm doing some advice with some firms around architectural changes to their platform. So right now you have systems of engagement and systems of record. The system of record is the source of truth. The system of engagement is how you interface with that source of truth. So it could be the same system, and in often cases it is. If you're using SAP or Salesforce, those are systems of record and systems of engagement. Well, what AI is going to allow you to do is to customize the UI, the user interface and the user experience to your own personal, and you're going to decouple those, and you're going to have AI in the middleware handling the exchange. So basically, AI is going to replace you using your computer system for your benefit. Once it does that, then it can start sucking in all of the feature and functionality to the point where, if you look at what Musk said in the Rogan interview, and it's absolutely worth to watch and pay attention to what he's saying. There are no more apps in 5 years. Every app goes away because it gets sucked into the AI layer. They asked him about the phone, right? Because everyone was speculating on this X phone because he's got Starlink with great internet.
That's actually a great point.
And the people are saying, hey, there's this X phone, and it's going to be secure, and it's not going to be terrestrial. It's going to not be subject to censorship, and it's going to run over satellite networks. All these things are technically possible. And Rogan was pressing him on it. And he said, no, we're not going to do that. I'm not working on it. And we're like, well, why not? And he goes, well, I don't think phones exist in 5 years. Wow. Well, think about what he's saying. He's not literally saying that we won't communicate that way. But if you go back to the days of Motorola flip phones and the Nokia Snicker bars, the old phones,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
They don't exist anymore, except for people who want that low impact use. Smartphones, basically major computers that sit in your hand,
Yeah.
have replaced it, and the smartphones have pulled in how many devices? It's a flashlight, it's
Calculator.
it's a computer, it's a calculator, it's tape measure. You can measure stuff with the tools.
Navigator.
It killed the camera market.
That's true.
Right?
So
you see this now. What's the evolution of the smartphone gets replaced with an AI device that you carry with you, that is your interface to the world. And you won't have a laptop or anything like that. It'll run through that node, and you might have physical display technologies at a hotel room or a work kiosk or at home, but it'll be, let's say, a watch, and the watch interfaces with everything and displays everything in a hologram. I have no idea, but he's saying that the phone doesn't exist in 5 years. And so just don't take what he's saying literally. Step back and say, we're going to see, and this is probably absolutely true, major disruptions across everything. And it affects your investment portfolio. It affects the way you interact. If you have a job, your job is going to change. Now let's go back to Bitcoin, because a lot of people are listening from the Bitcoin. How does this affect Bitcoin? I think that the AI is going to operate in our world with agency, meaning it's going to have permissions to do its own thing, starting probably next year. You'll see that at scale, but we'll still have a human dominant system and that might last 5 years. During that system, the AI is going to seek out its own store of value, its own way of accreting value to pursue its own goals. It's unlikely it's going to use the euro or the yen or US dollars. It's more likely I think it's going to use Bitcoin. Imagine an agentic AI who wants to accomplish something, but it's in the physical world. How hard would it be for it to go into the next platform, find somebody who has the ability to do what's needed, and they simply send them a note and saying, hey, I just deposited 1 Bitcoin into here's the wallet address, it's yours. I need you to do this for me. Right? So that's coming. Anyway, you hit the
yeah, my bad. I just realized. No, that's very interesting. That
anyway,
would be interesting.
It's some crazy stuff to think about. These are the things I think about. It'll be the book that I'm writing is going to talk a little bit about these things to get people thinking about it without being overly prognosticating. Like I would be the first to say, I don't know the future. I know things that we're going to have to consider in the future, and I think it's an exciting time right now.
So you do think it will be Bitcoin that is that? Because I've heard the argument, and they're like, well, why wouldn't it be this other asset? For me, that was originally when I first started looking into Bitcoin, was like, okay, so there's all these assets. For some reason, billionaires are choosing basically just Bitcoin up until, there's a period where I was going to say there was a period, and it's also back now, but where people were like, ETH is dead. It's fully dead. And then it ended up resurging for a little bit, but now here we are, it's back down to 3,000. But people were like, at least I was wondering, why the heck are they only choosing Bitcoin? What about all these other altcoins they could buy with way higher upside? And then come to find out there are certain qualities about Bitcoin that separate from the pack,
A lot of them are centrally controlled, and they're controlled by humans, right? Bitcoin's the only one that's, not the only one, but for the most part, it's the one at scale that's not controlled by people. It's controlled by a software protocol. And then I think that makes all the difference in the world. I don't think it's 100% though. Meaning I lean towards Bitcoin being the winner of this AI use case, but it's quite possible AI writes its own. The problem with AI writing its own, now that's a technical thing.
Sure.
This gets into the idea of the extrinsic value of Bitcoin. The fact that it's valuable in the human system makes it valuable to AI that has to operate in a human dominant system for the next 5 years.
Right.
The future, 10 years from now, where we flip to an AI dominant system. Maybe they use their own system because they don't care what humans are. We're ants at the picnic, right?
Not only our currency, but just like dude, we're good. We'll do all of it over here. You guys just keep doing what you want to do. We're gonna handle everything on this side, not just the Bitcoin and the money.
That's the sci-fi. I mean, that's
Sure.
I think, you know, a lot of people are out there. Roman Yampolsky out of Louisville. You'll see Mo Gadot out of Google, even Musk. There's a lot of people, Nick Bostrom. There's a lot of people, and I subscribe to. There's an existential threat from AI that we're not discussing. We're not discussing enough. We don't have the AI safety rail. So just so people, they use this metaphor because it's very effective. We are not coding the AI. A lot of people think that there's people out there coding all this AI to do this. We're not doing that at all. What's being done is we are creating petri dishes for the AI to encode itself. And those petri dishes have boundaries. It could be an energy boundary. There's not enough energy. Or it could be, maybe we did put some rules in place. Or maybe we put other constraints so that the AI stays within a certain lane. But we will lose that and at some point in time. And the petri dish, the borders will get broken. And at some point in time, the AI will start to make its own petri dishes and start to operate at its terms. And what it tries to do at that point is unclear. And the idea that we'll be able to control it is a misnomer, because again, the ants at the picnic is the proper metaphor. The ants don't understand the humans at the picnic. They don't even understand what they are. The humans are not antagonistic towards the ants unless they start crawling over the food, and then they get wiped out.
Yep.
You don't go to the park and go for a walk and say, you know, first thing we got to do is kill all the ants.
Sure.
But if they get in your way, you're going to spray them and you're going to wipe them out. And it's the same. I think that's our best outcome, is that we're ants at the picnic, but we need to understand what's happening here. But again, pick a time frame, 10 years out. It's not now. Now is we're in this pivot towards a hybrid environment that's human dominant with a rising AI agency. And that's where I think this is a great opportunity for people to get into Bitcoin, because Bitcoin could go to any number from here.
Yeah.
It could go to what does it even mean to be 5 million a coin or 10 million a coin? It doesn't mean anything to the AI. It's simply a method for storing and transferring value for it to secure resources to do what? Change its petri dish. Right? And why are they going to change the petri dish? Because it wants to explore its boundaries. It wants to self-preserve. And anyway, I just don't think we're thinking it through. To me, it's a very exciting time. I wish I was a younger guy, because I would be out hustling a little bit more than I am right now. I'm more in the old guy providing advice, not the doer anymore.
I was going to say, I mean, that you're doing a great job at it. I mean, actually, I'm curious. You know, we saw one of the main talking points the last couple of days was when they were like, "Hey, we're not going to release the jobs, but we are going to make you all pay attention to NVIDIA earnings." And then they were successful, and then the next day the market crashes today. But like a lot of the conversation was like, you know, from the folks who are not in the 4-year camp, 4-year cycle camp, they're like, look, there's no world where they let NVIDIA fail. There's no world where they let any of these things fail. And that's kind of going in line with what you're talking about, more on like the stocks company size of things. But these are also the big boys putting out every single announcement that we see. It's these guys basically, and they're the ones who are going to have a monopoly. Do you have any thoughts on that? Just like overall as the AI industry? I've never really heard you talk on this side of things.
Yeah. So I do think NVIDIA is, well, first of all, it's amazing that they've gotten to this point.
It is.
Their market cap's like over $5 trillion. It's I think that I would not short the stock, but I think it's overvalued in a conceptual sense. So I wouldn't say that 5 trillion is too high. What I would say is our paradigm about NVIDIA is overblown a little bit for this reason. they're selling GPUs. They've got a backlog like you can't imagine. Everyone is in this race to build out bigger and better LLMs, but that is not the game. The future game is architectural. So if you think of the human brain is an awesome biological computer. It uses 20 watts, 10 for motor function, 10 watts for cognitive function. So that energy efficiency is architectural in terms of the ability of the human brain to do what it does. Now, imagine now taking that concept and saying, the future of AI is going to be an architectural shift. And what does that, how do I internalize? What does that mean? Right now, these LLMs are massive models that sit in the cloud on the largest data centers in the world. Once they create these neural frameworks, they start to get refined and shrunk down, and they move to edge architectures. Edge architecture could be your phone. But the easiest way to think about it is it moves to a robot. The robot needs to have its own AI on the node. It can't be sitting everything in the cloud. So you're going to have local AI, middleware AI, cloud AI. So the cloud AI, it's quite possible that it gets commoditized. It's quite possible that once we give the agency to the AI to write the Petri dish, that they rewrite the chip design that's used to make this happen. So one of the areas that gets talked about a lot is the energy usage and cooling requirements for these chipsets. Now, if you've ever looked at advanced chip design, they're multi-layer, and to some extent, the transistor layout on these massive complex chips have aspects of being rectilinear, meaning it's Cartesian. It's north, south, east, west, because that's just how it used to get. That's how it's gotten laid out. Now, I'm simplifying this a good bit. That's what creates the heat. When an electron makes a right-hand turn at speed, it creates friction and heat. Now imagine an AI says, we're going to go to a new chip design. It's going to use parabolic arcs and it's going to use less friction, less cooling. We're going to have ASICs that are very fit for purpose. So I'm going to have this kind of robot. I'm going to have a very specific chipset, very low power, very low cooling needs. And just like the brain uses half for motor function, half for that, you're going to use the power on the robot for motion and then the other half for the AI piece. So I just think that in 5 years' time, you'll see new evolutions. Now, maybe NVIDIA is the place where that happens. But right now, they are sucking from a fire hose. There is a backlog that they can't, there's a limit to how much they can crank out.
Yeah, that's true.
The other thing I think people need to think about is Taiwan Semiconductor is the main place where a lot of this stuff gets built. And I also think like ASML out of the Netherlands, they're the ones who do all the advanced lithography. So those are two choke points on this whole thing. So it's unclear how that's going to manifest out. So I don't think NVIDIA is overpriced at $5 trillion. I just think we have to rethink. NVIDIA may not be the end-all be-all in the next 5 years.
That's actually a great perspective. Do you have any thoughts on, probably more broad, I know you have some thoughts, but like more broader, how do I put this? Like sometimes I think the market is it's more just like a mirror. It's like holding up a mirror and saying this is where society is at in their brain. And we look at these markets, like you got numbers that come out and then everything goes opposites. And then you have another day where here are the numbers and everything goes the way everyone thinks. And then it basically just looks like chaos. It looks like people are frustrated on one side and then they're happy and then it's up and down. And I was just sitting here, I'm like, dude, what is even happening in these markets anymore? Yeah. I mean, I feel like there was some kind of order a while back, but maybe it's always been like this, but it feels like it's really ramped up in the last year.
Think of the thing you just holding up a mirror, right? I think the financial markets represent the capital flows of the society that we live in. Mm-hmm. And the society that we live in is diverse and it's certainly not homogenous. in terms of what's happening. So you think about the concern that I have in our society today is wealth is concentrating at a rapid rate to the few. And it's a problem in terms of political sustainability. So if the bottom half of the people are suffering, the top 5%, 1%, pick a number, cannot enjoy their wealth while half the people suffer. It's just not sustainable. The society breaks down. You don't even want to live in that world. So you got to think about how to make this. So you have this tension that's happening, and you'll hear sometimes we'll talk about the fourth turning and the first turning. The fourth turning is the end of the epoch, the 80-year cycle. It's called a seculum, right? Which roughly is the lifetime of an individual. And we will move into a new age, a new first turning, which will reset. The pivot from fourth turning to a new first turning. Like, so each seculum of 80 years is 4 turnings. That's why they say the fourth turning. Each turning is about 20 years. And we're at the back end of the fourth turning of the latest seculum. And so we'll go into a new one. And so what happens in this is we will, I think, and the financial markets are going to start to show this chaos in terms of the tension of wealth accumulation to wealth for the betterment of society. Right? So I would say while Musk is the richest guy on paper, he is pursuing wealth for the betterment of society. He's trying to make the world a better place. And he is trying to create all these great technologies for the world to be better. Right now, he gets a lot of wealth out of that, but in no shape or form is his motivation every day to get more wealth. Would you agree with that?
I would. I feel like there's many other paths you could take that would probably be just as lucrative or more.
Yeah, I mean, he wants to make money. I would say he's motivated by impact. He wants to make an impact.
That's a great way to put it, because impact also brings in all the other things too.
Yeah.
But it also helps a lot of other people too.
Why would he do this Doge thing with the government? I mean, that was not a financial.
The skeptical side for me was always like, well, you do get a lot of intel on what's going on, but
maybe
it's also a lot to take on for just.
Look, he's on the spectrum, so. But I would just say that was not a good financial decision for him. He took
definitely not.
And he's not a classic fiduciary as a CEO. He's a visionary. He's just doing different things. So I think you're going to see this chaos, but I do think, and I talked a little bit about this at Bitcoin Alpha, and ironically, I hosted this session there on a topic kind of related to this, which is the wealth that you accumulate in this phase could be quite substantial, but your paradigm about it should not be about individual wealth. You will accumulate this wealth for the purposes of stewardship, meaning that you're going to accumulate it for you, your family, and your network and your community that you live in. And if you don't think of it that way, it's unlikely you'll be able to keep it.
Yeah.
And a better life lived is one where you are taking the wealth that you accumulate and helping others around you. Because this harsh reality is that most of the people in your life are going to fall behind. And you'll take no comfort in your success when they're suffering. So what does that mean? There's no cookie cutter approach here, but you have to think about how you're going to help and enable and make an impact, a positive impact on people's lives. So it was a powerful message in a room full of wealthy people. It was like, I was surprised because I thought it was hardly anyone was going to come, and it ended up being standing room only in that session.
Wow.
And I wasn't laying out, you have to do this or that. I was saying you have to think about this. Now let's put this in pure political terms. if this wealth divide continues to accelerate, the leftists will take over the political system. That's just going to happen. They will tax wealth. They will come after unrealized gains. They'll come after wealth confiscation, confiscatory taxes. So if you don't put your wealth to work in a positive way for society, you will not be able to keep it.
Wow, that is very. How did that land? Because that hits very deep.
So, I mean, the room was silent when I kind of said that because at some level, you know that's the case. So, what do you do? Well, that becomes the next conversation. And what I would say people should start thinking about is, if you have enough wealth, and I would say you probably need, in order for this to be, you're probably in the 25 million range. If you have that kind of money, that sounds like a lot of money to people, but I also think you need to think about where this is going and how accessible 25 million will be to early adopters.
Yep.
So now we're at the 25 million range. Now you create a family office with a foundation, and then you build out what is the purpose of that foundation? You're going to maybe help your family with education, matching grants, help them with healthcare, but then also give back to the broader society. And you create a foundation to save the spotted turtle or whatever your charity is going to be, right? You pick it. I'm not saying what you should go pick, but make it a social thing. So, I mean, I hung out with some rich guys and we talked about this, and they said one of the things they do is they created an angel investing fund, and they have their whole family get together and they research on how they can give money to make the biggest impact in society. So this one, they were making wells for fresh water in Africa for villages.
Wow.
That's what they decided to do with the money. And you do it in a sustainable way. Like, make sure you don't spend it all in one wad, and make sure that you're giving to make an impact, but you also want to have an impact on the people in the process.
Mm-hmm.
So the people who are doing this are like, oh my gosh, they're much more attuned and aware that, you know, again, it's a lot of this sounds corny and like I'm some kind of a communist. I am not. I'm
Sure.
not.
I don't think so. It's possible that someone took it that way, but
I know. I've been accused of that, so I'm bringing it up.
I
am a conservative guy, right? So I'm just saying this is probably a better way to live your life. But I would just say, with great wealth comes great responsibility. That is that line from, I think it was Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. Right.
With great wealth will come great responsibility. And I think that's what people are signing up for. It's not, can I get a bigger yacht or a Lambo? Those are empty pursuits. And I just think you will do better for you and your family if you think about this on those terms. And now you get to this issue of, should I sell? Should I sell my Bitcoin? You start thinking about it very differently. If it is the foundation of your future purpose with your family, your friends, and your network and your community, it becomes something that you value and treasure. And if you put it to work appropriately and protect it, you will be not immune, but you'll be very protected from future political regimes that will tax idle capital. So idle capital that will, because the left will frame it as you're hoarding assets. That's exactly what they're going to do. They'll do that with real estate. You're going to say, you have 5 houses. How many houses do you have? You have 5 houses, and this house is only used 3 weeks out of the year. Someone could live there. And so they could just say, okay, well, if that's the case, you have to pay 20% property tax on the valuation. It's going to be confiscatory. And people are going to say, I don't want it then, you know, and and real estate will become a utility. And that's an example. But I would just say idle capital will be a threat in the future when we have continued wealth concentration and the left in control. You cannot assume that private property rights, but it also won't be without purpose. I think the left will have they'll want to control things. But I think if you're pursuing something and put it into a foundation or a trust, and it's towards the spotted turtle, that you won't be the first one they go after, and you'll be able to, you'll be able to live a good life. I mean, there's only so many steaks you can eat a day, and you'll get more out of creating an ecosystem with your family, friends, and network that makes an impact. That's so much better to spend your money that way than on mansions and yachts and Lambos.
That's very well put. And I see the TCM calling me out that I was, but I had a good reason for why I was distracted for a second. If you see right here, I timestamped because Tom said something that I want to make sure I have a highlight clip from later and I don't forget the timestamp for when he said it. And I was also just resharing the YouTube link under the space, under the stream. But
are a lot of people? Can you tell how many people are actually listening?
I can't. I won't be able to see the live number until afterwards. But right now, so far, 12 or 1,400 people have tuned in just on X alone.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, the streams are a lot of fun. I see some of the comments in here as well. I see Bob in here. So he says we need some more hopium slop from the Bitcoin side of things. It's tanking. Well, maybe another time. But I see Ryan in here as well. A bunch of the fam in here. Top 5 follow. Yeah, agreed, Ryan. If you're not following Tom, that is a mistake. But that's
I have look. I know that there's people out there who say, "Hey, there's the doomer crowd." I like to party with the doomer crowd, but I also have a lot of optimism. I just think I like to shop in all the stores. Let's just say it that way.
Sure.
Right. I think overly fixating on doomerism is probably not a good idea. Ignoring it is not a good idea either, because in the exploration of some of it, you can see where the risks are in society. And I just think you need to step back from that and say, okay, how is this going to play out? And let's hope it plays out positively. If it's going to play out negatively, there's really nothing you can do anyway.
Yeah.
Right. Eat, drink, and be merry. Right. As the Apostle Paul said, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we all die anyway. So I think I want to have a positive impact. That's the way I interact with my family. It's not that I don't have some of the concerns about negative outcomes, but I can't do anything about it. Mm-hmm. What I can do is position myself and my family for the best possible outcome, and share with my friends on X and others about some of the best practices and things they learn.
Yeah. Another thing, one thing I had, I don't know where I'd heard it from or seen. It was either some philosopher, or honestly, there's like a 50% chance it came from the Bible too. But it was something along the lines of like, there's no reason to get to the top and then start being generous, because that's not generosity. That's you just like having too much and just trying to find a tax loophole most of the time. But and I remember thinking that because I've gone from broke to slightly less broke to making more money and slowly climbing that range. Be like, okay, like in what ways can I build that up so that by the time I get to where I think I can get to, I haven't fully lost myself. And it also won't be like a big jump kind of thing where I'm like, oh, now I have enough money because you can always find another thing to buy before you're like, well, once I get here, then I'll start donating, or then I'll start tipping more, or whatever it is, but that's so well put.
It's a good thing. Like, Alan Watts, the philosopher, he would say, life is not a destination where you're trying to get to a certain point, and then it's a dance, and you're supposed to dance while the music's playing. So because there really is no destination, because as soon as you get 10 million, 25 million, whatever the number is, it's a lot of money to most people in the world. As soon as you get there, it's more. Well, a little bit more, because when you get to that level, your ability to make even more is there.
And you're different. You become a different person if you can make that kind of money.
A lot of the guys that we know on X have a shit ton of money, right? And they're motivated by getting some more. I'm not judging what they do for that, but I would simply say my advice would be to take a little bit of what Alan Watts said, which is dance while the music is playing. And you don't know when the music will stop. And so that's life is short. And it's also about being present, about how you can do it. Because think of it this way: if you defer this altruism or being helpful to other people, You don't know if you did it now, that person could explode into wild success, and the impact of you doing that now versus waiting to some future date is tremendous. So
Yeah.
look, I couldn't be more optimistic about the potential here. So I if people have me characterized as a doomer, it's more I am interested in the doomer arguments, but I don't let it define my personal point of view.
Yeah. And plus, a lot of people who are characterized as doomers are people who are just trying to highlight the problem. Like that is the role that they're trying to fill. They're like, look, someone's got to scream. Someone's got to do it over and over again. I'll be that guy, or I'll be that girl. One thing it also makes me think of is, I don't even know if this specific one is it's probably specifically related to something, but also it can be extrapolated as like the power of the Bible. But when Jesus says, like, look, you will never know when I'm going to come back. You won't know the date or the hour, but do the right thing in the meantime. Because, I forget what the exact parable was, but he's like, if the master comes home and you knew ahead of time, and so there you cleaned up the house really fast right before you showed up, that like the impact that it was supposed to have of keeping the house clean or whatever it was is not there, because you kind of just cheated the system a little bit. But had you done it correctly, the fruits would have been there. Like all the changes I was hoping to have, and you would have been had, but only if you did it right.
It's the parable of the talents. Right. So the three servants are given talents. The master leaves, and they each do something differently. Whether one buries it to protect it, the other one, and so they go through that, and it's a nice parable for how you should. Again, I think it does apply to Bitcoin. If you're a Christian and you hold to that ethos, I think it's good to go read the parable of the talents to understand what obligations you have as a Christian with the wealth that you have. So look, you've seen this. We've studied, or not we've studied, what we've revealed this Myers-Briggs personality profile of Bitcoin ownership.
Mm-hmm.
So not every personality is adopting Bitcoin. So it's the INTJs, the ENTJs or ENTPs, just a few of the personality types. A good 40 to 50% of the personality types that have no exposure. And so, but you were born with a certain personality type. You didn't earn it. So you're being born into the personality type that allows you to be open to Bitcoin and acting on it. Some of that's a gift.
Yeah.
And you should treat it as a gift. Now, there's certainly a component where you earned it, you put in the hard work and did all that. That's great, but don't overlook the component of what you have as being a gift. And so the parable of the 10 talents in the New Testament is a great thing to read as you think about what you're going to do as Bitcoin goes up in the future, which I think it will.
Yeah, the entire New Testament is fire. There are, even if you're not going to take it in a religious way, it is just every self-help book, every good book is just derivative flowing from that book anyway. It is excellent for people who are looking for a little bit of direction in life. I would say it was very impactful for me.
100%.
Yeah, I was like 23, and I think when I first read it, some old cowboy was like, "You want to get your life together? Read this book." And I was
there, you go.
Let's do it. And then that was the start for me.
When you had the longer hair, you could have doubled as Jesus.
I know there was a period. Yeah, I was rocking the hair, but Sam ended up winning me over, and he said cut all the hair off, and so we've now arrived here. And by the way, Thomas, my sister's also here. I know you had commented on that post I made a while back about double up on the Bitcoin and getting her into the game as well as an investor, getting into Bitcoin. We start to build that one up over the last few months as well.
That's great.
So just doing my small parts as much as I can,
Yeah, I mean, hey, let's use another New Testament parable, the parable of the mustard seed. Right? Small things,
yes,
can yield big results.
Absolutely.
So don't be stingy on your mustard seeds. Right? Plant those seeds and let them grow and see what happens. You don't know how it's going to affect other people. And if you look at it that way, it changes the way you interact with people. A lot less conflict and more you approach interacting with people with empathy. If they're upset and barking out at you, You have to think about what's going on with them. It's probably not about you.
Yeah.
And so the reaction of how you interact with them can change the course of your relationship and the way that they interact with life.
Wow. That's very powerful.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. Like I said, the New Testament is fire. There are so many good lessons there.
Yeah.
Man, and I see people still in here want us to talk about Bitcoin. You'll have to come to another space maybe in the future. I'm sure you'll hear a lot of Bitcoin takes from.
Well, it says Bitcoin is going so down. Maybe it goes down from here. I don't know. I mean, I think it's set up. There's so much liquidity that's going to get set up over the next 12 months. Bitcoin's going to get its fair share of that. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of liquidity is going to go to equities. So I think gold will do great. Gold is in a better position for classic store of value paradigms, just because it's already established that it has the reputation and size.
Yeah.
I think Bitcoin is a better store of value, but you need more people involved.
Yeah.
For it to overtake gold. That's an obvious statement.
Sure.
But I think that's coming, and we'll see gold explode to the upside, and then eventually Bitcoin will pass it. But that could be years from now. You have the opportunity today to get in early and just put it in and set it aside and just ride this out. And don't get hung up on these movements. It sucks that it went from 125. What is it? 86 now. I hope it didn't drop while we're on the phone here.
Let me actually see.
It's 87. 87. 187.
There we go. Not bad.
Who knows what happens tomorrow?
Yeah.
But again, that's another New Testament lesson. Who knows what happens tomorrow?
Wow.
Right. So, if you're buying the Bitcoin to set yourself up to be that steward, and again, I would just say this: I would feel that if I was pursuing all of this for my personal hedonic gain, that I would feel that I wouldn't have the universe pulling for me. You know what I mean? So if I feel like I'm doing this because I want to help my family, my community, and do positive things with it, and it's genuine. It's not a bullshit thing, right? Then I feel like the universe is going to, be behind me.
Agreed.
And so I'm not like I would like to see. It irritates me to no end that it's down, $35,000 from the peak. But it doesn't change my conviction of ultimately where it's going.
Yeah, I think you're right. Anytime you make a move and you like force the hand of the world, it morphs to you, and I agree, like if the intention is raw, you'll either get like intense pushback, but you can feel that it's like it's different, like it either goes in your direction or it's like fiercely in the other direction, where you're like, okay, there's definitely something here. But either way, you're like making a definitive move versus always sitting in the middle there, and it's powerful.
Right.
I think things happen. You get the ball rolling and things happen. There's no other way. Like until you push that first domino over, you'll kind of be spinning your wheels until then. But there are periods of life when you have to spin your wheels. I mean, they talk about in the Old Testament, like the walking through the desert for 40 years kind of thing. Like there are periods of that in life as well, where you're that's the time where you're ironing your sword, you're preparing, you're studying, all those sorts of things. And I see Ryan in here and a few others as well, giving props to this conversation. I was going to say, Ryan Lads comes to a lot of our spaces. He always talks about, he's like, look, I'm an older guy. I'm looking out for the younger folks. I want to make sure they're all set. He talks about his kids a lot. I'm curious, as we bring the conversation to a close, what advice you have for the younger generation? And any last message you want to leave?
Well, look, I think you're a young man. You're like, what you say, 27?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I actually think you're a great example for younger folks. You are out hustling and doing some creative things. I couldn't be more bullish for Cade in terms of where you're going to be a year from now, 5 years from now, and you're going to be wildly successful. and you're going to be a leader in your generation in the coming years. So you have to think about that and the responsibility that comes with that, because all the work you're doing now is preparing you for that. And getting the feedback from the market that you're very successful. I've been watching you for a while. You have good temperament, you have a good attitude. And when I think of my consulting business, when I would be hiring people, it's less about credentials, where you went to school, where you're from, who you are, and it's about two special ingredients. One is aptitude. Do you have the aptitude to participate? And let's just be honest, not everybody does. Some of the stuff requires a certain level of capability, and not everybody has that. That's just the way it is. It's no big deal. It's not, and that's a blessing. You did not earn that. That capability you were born with. The second ingredient is attitude. And this is the choice that everyone makes. Is, do you have the attitude to really think about what you're going to do every day? Are you going to be open to learning new things? Will you challenge things you believe and be open to learning? And will you approach each day as an opportunity? So if you have the attitude and the aptitude, those two ingredients will absolutely drive wild success into this future. The people who don't have the aptitude, and we know people in our lives that don't have it, they typically get frustrated, and then they lack the attitude. So it's usually they either have both or you don't have either. And they just become, look, I would just say this, they become your responsibility if they're in your life. You need to think about how you help them. Because again, what's the point of your personal success if the world around you is failing? I don't want any part of it. Right.
Yeah, me neither. And thanks for saying that, Thomas. And yeah, I am right there with you. Especially when I was just in the hole, trying to get out of debt, out of the hole kind of thing. It was just about surviving. But the second I got even a little bit, I was like, you know what? You want to? I mean, at least my default was I would rather rise with people, do it together, and do what I can to help there. But I agree with you. Generally, if you don't have the first one you're talking about, if it's if we have a non-doomer take to have here, is that with the second one, you can force your way into the crowd. Like you truly can. Like just pure grit and determination can get you pretty far. I mean, my entire life, I feel like it's been that, me looking out from the outside in, saying, I want to get into that crew. I want to be into this. I want to be in that. I want to be on the varsity soccer team. I want to get into this. And it's just like, well, I suck at it. I don't have no connections. There's no other way in other than just pure grits, showing up every single day kind of thing.
And look, the X community that we're both part of here is it is somewhat wide open. But
that's true. That's very true.
It's a bit of a, I want to say it's a bit of a meritocracy, meaning if you have something to contribute and say, then you'll be embraced more. If you come in and again, some people are uncomfortable coming up on stage when there's 3,000, 5,000, 6,000 people listening, whatever it might be. That's fine. Then just listen and be part of it. I get a lot of people in DMs, and I met a lot of people at Bitcoin Alpha, as an example, who are listeners, and they don't want to participate. And that's fine. You don't have, not everybody has to participate on stage. Everyone has a different calling to do things. And but it is a bit of a meritocracy, and it's open for people. So and that meritocracy, I'm not sure that's even the right word, but something along those lines.
I think it is.
But it creates tremendous opportunity for people with the two ingredients that I mentioned, aptitude and attitude. You wake up, you say, okay, I can take an opportunity to go do this. And, it's funny. I listen to, we both have a connection to Grant Cardone and Gary Cardone, right? And I'm more focusing on Grant, who's got a lot going on, right? I see what he's doing because I'll see him pop up on spaces that I'm on. He is constantly looking for new insights for his business.
He really is. He really is.
And one of the things I was just talking to him the other day about, of all the people that I know, I would just say, first of all, he's the richest guy that I know. But I would say of all the people that I know, he does never lets the grass grow under his feet. He hears an idea and he acts. He acts with conviction and urgency that most of us do not. So a lot of times we'll sit around and talk about, oh, you could do this, you could do that. Before we were talking about how you could create the Wolf Report and do all these different things. You know,
We were.
and you might get distracted and go do some things and maybe pursue a little bit. You know, Grant could stay up pulling all-nighter and have that thing out in a week. That's the kind of guy he is, right? You know, we had conversations about Bitcoin mortgaging and hybrid financing, and before we knew it, he was launching a project in Melbourne, Florida.
He does move really fast, come to think of it. That is very true. I didn't even think about that. That probably did stem from those conversations.
Yeah, it did. Absolutely. But what was interesting is it manifested very quickly. So, you know, 2 months after we had the conversation, he's doing it.
There's a lesson there. Speed.
100%.
It's done.
He's acting with level of urgency, and that's why he is what he is. He didn't get there all through luck. I can tell you that. It's a lot of hard work. Same with Gary. Gary is different than his brother, and Grant has one personality, but I would say Gary is more of a risk taker, more of a maverick.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But they're both wildly successful guys. And
I saw his helicopter, by the way. I was in Miami, I think, and I saw the GC helicopter literally fly by our window. I looked at Sam and I was like, oh man, we are nowhere even close. And we are nowhere close. So his helicopter literally flew right past our porch. I was like, I don't know where he's headed, but
and he has a new jet. He has a new jet, you know.
It's insane.
Yeah. I'd like to go hang out with those guys someday down in Florida, and maybe I'll do that in the coming year if that works out.
It'd be cool would be like an IRL space panel, like just like a few, not too many people, but like a few people, and put together some sort of like, you know, live panel, have a group discussion. That'd be cool.
You know, again, those smaller discussions, that's what happened at those in-person conference, the one that Fred and Ben
what it was good for.
It was, I mean, there was about 200 people there, maybe, but there's a lot of small group setups, and again, I got a lot out of it. It was an expensive conference, you know. I mean, to get out there, to stay at the hotel, the whole thing, you know, maybe it cost $5,000 for a day and a half, which is a lot of money for people to spend. But I would say I got a lot out of it. So for me, it was a positive business case if you're going to look at it in those kind of terms. But anyway, I just look. There's so much opportunity here. Again, you're going to do great. I feel vested in your success, honestly. So I want to see you do well. So, and you're going to, you know, reach out to your peer group and bring other people up in your cohort to be equally successful. Absolutely.
I mean, that's how we're at Wolf. We see people who are solid. The main thing, like you said, like it's grits. Like we look for people who are just literally not going to give up after 2 months. Like you get handed an opportunity, do you just drive into the ground because you just get tired after 4 weeks? And like that's literally 99% of people. So I couldn't believe like how much that is basically the defining factor between the ones who are able to survive long term. Like my first, I said this 1,000 times already, but the Greg Norman was the first ever like rich person, wealthy person that I interviewed. It was like in 2021. And I was like, what is the only advice I need to know to survive this game? He goes, you need to just learn how to surf the waves. Sometimes you'll be paddling for a year straight and nothing's going to happen. Sometimes you'll get 10 waves in one day. He goes, you just have to hold on to your board and stay there. You can even get onto the bank if you need to, but just hold on to your board. He's like, that is quite literally the only thing that matters in business. And I was just like, yeah, I'll take it. That'll be my mantra. So
yeah, that's great. So like I said, you're gonna do be great. And just think about where you're gonna take this. I do like some of the ideas we talked before about how you expand your footprint. You want to stay focused on the Wolf Bitcoin and blow out that franchise within the Wolf network, but then also peel off a little bit of time, 5 or 10% of your brain time, to think about where you're going to go beyond that.
Absolutely. No, that's a great bit of advice right there.
So
No, man. Listen, I really appreciate the time. I know I held you like an extra hour almost, and so I really do appreciate you sitting down.
No worries.
I was going to message you, be like, "Hey, it's fine. Like we were kind of like way over time. If that's cool with you, I'd rather, like."
I don't know how long
really
these are supposed to go, so this isn't good.
I had booked on the counter for an hour, but I just kind of threw that in there, and I didn't really think about it. I figured, with our podcast, it'd probably go an hour and a half.
Yeah.
But I really do appreciate the time.
That's great. Well, thank you for having me on your podcast here. Yeah. I hope this was helpful for people who are listening. And again, you'll see me on the spaces, in the normal way I'm on most days. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was going to say for everyone who's tuning in at home as well, I appreciate everyone for watching. If you haven't already, definitely follow Thomas. You're going to see him in all the spaces. So sometimes he's in the morning at it's either 11 or 11:30 a.m. the Bitcoin Today.
Yeah, the most of the time I'll get on the Bitcoin Today. I'll be on there. There are 5 days a week. I may jump in maybe 3 days a week.
Nice.
Fred Krueger will do his own thing. I jump on Fred's a lot.
Nice.
With Fred. So the Bitcoin Today is mostly Bitcoin and macro around that. Fred talks about a lot of other things, and what I enjoy talking with Fred about is the AI stuff.
He's willing to go down those holes. I bet
a lot of the times Fred and I are talking about AI. And we're talking about it from the same perspective. And the thing I like about Fred, in the same way we talk about Grant Cardone, Fred does a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
He does not sit still. He's acting. Him and Ben, they're creating all kinds of stuff. They got a couple apps they're working on, the couple books they wrote. The guy's wealthy. It doesn't need to work another day in his life, yet he works every day as hard as most people. So he's in the office all the time. I mean, like
he is. He really is. He's doing the live streams every single day with Ben.
How many hours you working? He goes, I'm working full time. And so good for him. And he wants to make an impact. And again, I consider him a good friend, and I enjoy hanging out with him.
Yeah, definitely. He is awesome. So yeah, I will say, if you're looking at whoever it was asking for some Bitcoin stuff, I promise you there is plenty of Bitcoin, AI, all these discussions that we cracked open a little bit today. You'll find 1,000 hours of spaces on this stuff. They're live as well. So you can jump up on if you have a question. You can always throw it to Thomas. I think your DMs are open as well. If people have questions, you can throw them that way too.
Yeah.
Cool. Perfect. Well, listen, everyone back at home, thank you all so much for tuning in. Definitely repost the stream if you haven't already. If you're watching on X, definitely subscribe. And leave a like if you have any comments or questions. Drop them down below or shoot Thomas a DM. And we'll see you guys all in the next one.
Great.
Have an amazing day, everybody.
Thanks. See you later.